G'day YouTube, Rob again, bringing you another video. I think it's been about 2 weeks since I've sort of made a video. I've just been had a bit of the YouTube blues, I suppose. I just haven't sort of been in the mood to sort of actually sort of get a video made. I have sort of wanted to make videos, but I just either just haven't sort of found time or just haven't sort of found the energy to do it. But I have sort of been watching a fair few YouTube videos. A lot of people, some of the main people that I do watch, they've been sort of pumping out the videos recently, I've noticed. So I've been sort of a bit, feel a bit bad in some ways because I haven't sort of been, keeping up with them, if I can sort of say that. So today I've just got a very sort of, reasonably quick video. I just sort of got 2 movies which I've sort of bought and watched, and thought I might do perhaps just a sort of a quick sort of review of it, or just my thoughts of these 2 movies. I sort of bought them both off Amazon, just sort of blind buys. I think sort of cheap, and they're both sort of black and white classic movies. They're both Academy Award winners, Best Picture winners. So we'll get into it. First one I watched is 1942, called Mrs. Miniver, starring Greer Garson, Walter Pidgeon, and I think Richard Ney. So she's sort of just about sort of set during just after sort of the Second World War sort of breaks out, and I think the film's sort of set over a year, just sort of about this sort of what it says at the start. It's like just a film about a sort of a middle class family, which I guess is what it is. They do seem fairly sort of rich, I think, for a middle class family, but anyway. But yeah, just about the sort of this family, and perhaps the film sort of revolves around Mrs. Miniver. She's sort of the main character, I guess, and she's got a son, sort of just come home from I think Oxford, I think it is, just from university, and this is just before sort of the war breaks out type thing, and he sort of falls in love with the girl next door type thing, and so that sort of storyline. And then of course when sort of the war breaks out, he sort of feels it's his duty to sort of go off to war, and so the sort of element of the sort of the lovers, and they want to sort of get married, and but the girls, these are her aunties, not too keen on the idea. Just doesn't think that the son Richard Ney is particularly worthy. So there's a sort of a storyline about that, and how they're trying to convince the auntie that because they're in war, that one day the son might not come back. The boy might come back. He enrolls to be like a fighter pilot type thing, so he might easily die during the war, and so they think it's important that they should get married and enjoy it while it lasts type thing. And then of course the husband sort of gets a call in the middle of the night and sort of just gets rushed off to help the war effort. And there's a lot of different sort of characters, and they sort of have their own sort of stories type thing. But I think it's just to revolve around this one type family. Very interesting film, because actually sort of the sort of behind the story of this film, it's very much even the directors sort of agreed that this is actually in some ways very much a propaganda film which he sort of made. So the idea was that they were sort of made to sort of help the Americans join the war, because it's sort of set in Britain. So the film was sort of made to sort of somewhat sort of show what the British were doing, during the war, and to try and convince the Americans perhaps supposedly to get the Americans sort of to join the war effort. And I think even there's a quote here from Winston Churchill. I can't remember what the exact quote is, but he says that this film, did a lot more for the war effort than things like a fleet of destroyers or something like that. So I don't know how successful the film was in getting the Americans to sort of join the war. I think the director also said that when the film was actually came out, it's sort of been shown he was actually by that time enlisted in the army, and he sort of said later that this movie is very much a sort of a pale imitation to what to what war is really like, which I guess to be true. I mean, if you want to watch something a bit more, you obviously watch something like Saving Private Ryan. But I mean, in some ways, it is definitely a bit of an idealistic film, I guess, idealistic film. Which I guess, but in some ways, I just wasn't necessarily around in the time, so I don't necessarily know what Britain was like at that time. But the film itself does sort of show, in some ways, a very sort of strong British spirit, and remember sort of, just get on with the job. I mean, obviously, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a sort of scene where, sort of, the house gets bombed and, but they can still continue on to live in the house. That, I think, well, it's still a house. We, just get on with it. And there's also a scene where, the husband's sort of gone off to war, so she's sort of alone in the house, and this sort of German fighter pilot crash lands, and a few days later, no one can find him. Don't know where he went to, but he eventually sort of ends up on her doorstep. So she sort of got to deal with this German soldier. Then of course when the husband comes back, he sort of asks, what have you been doing while I've been away, type thing, and she says, oh, nothing, it's been very boring, type thing. So she's sort of saying, well, wasn't necessarily a big deal that she had to sort of deal with this German soldier all by herself. If you sort of get what I mean, it's just a very sort of just British attitude, I guess. There was also sort of scenes with an annual flower show, and but they don't sort of consider sort of cancelling this show. They sort of have the show anyway, even though it's basically in the middle of the war. But definitely, it's a really good film. Perhaps a little bit sort of slow paced in some ways, but I did sort of like the characters and like the story, and wasn't necessarily too sort of heavy handed on the pro-war, type message that it's sort of got. There's a sort of a speech at the end by the priest, like the minister. He sort of gives this sort of epic, 5-minute speech about, war and stuff like that. But I thought it was a really good film, and I did sort of like the story behind it too. The sort of the whole idea behind the film of a bit of pro-war film to get the Americans to sort of join the war effort. I also noticed very much a sort of a bit strange, sort of the mother and her son. Is it Richard Gere? They do a lot of sort of on the mouth kissing, which I thought was a bit strange when I was sort of watching the movie. But I did sort of find out, read later, that they were actually sort of a couple in real life. So I don't know if that's got anything to do with their bit, very much romantic, kissing on the lips type thing. But I don't know. That might have been a normal thing, perhaps, back in 1942 or whenever it was. But yeah, a good movie, I thought. Next film from 1932, called Grand Hotel. Stars Greta Garbo, Joan Collins, Lionel Barrymore, John Barrymore, and the other guy, Wallace Berry. Very sort of a, all-star cast for this one. So it's Best Picture winner for 1931 and 1932, which I'm not quite sure how it can win both years, but anyway. But this is actually a really good film. I really did actually quite enjoy this. I sort of enjoyed it pretty much from the moment it started to the moment it finished. It was a very sort of enjoyable, very sort of engrossing film. It's actually sort of just sort of set, to the title, in the Grand Hotel, which is, I think, one of Berlin's most expensive hotels at the time. Just as you can imagine, just sort of about different sort of characters in this hotel and how their storylines are sort of interlinked, with each other. And I think it's set over probably, I don't know, 2 days perhaps or something like that. But just it sort of says on the back here, the catchline, people come, people go, nothing ever happens. That's sort of the catchline from the movie, which I guess is not quite true if you sort of really. So just maybe on the surface it looks like nothing's going on, but there's actually a lot of stories going on, different characters. Great sort of characters to it, great little stories, and sort of like how the film sort of started out. I think it depends on what sort of version you watch. I think there's a few different versions of it, but the version I watched anyway, sort of get these sort of in the lobby, sort of these sort of, I think it was like 3 or 4 phone booths sort of thing. There's different sort of characters are on the phone. Talking to people type thing. It's sort of just a way to sort of introduce the characters in their particular storyline that sort of jumps between each of the phone booths, and you sort of hear part of each person's story. I think the main 2 stars are obviously Greta Garbo, and she sort of gives her famous line, "I want to be alone," which is one of her famous lines of all time. It also stars Joan Collins. And which they never actually they're not actually both on the screen at the same time though. I think that was I sort of read that it was sort of done so they They wouldn't sort of fight, you know, sort of the two actresses wouldn't fight and wouldn't try to upstage each other. And I also heard that they, I think like Greta Garbo, she was, you know, more of a star at the time, I think. So they actually, when the film was finished, they actually went back and actually re-added in some scenes of Greta Garbo because they thought that she wasn't getting enough, you know, sort of screen time. I sort of found that, as most people have sort of said, that Joan Collins definitely sort of stole the picture. She was definitely more of an interesting character in some ways. I think, I mean, I don't know. It's, you know, I sort of said that they, you know, added in scenes for Greta Garbo, but to me, it sort of seemed that Joan Collins got a lot more screen time. I don't know if that's just the way it was sort of portrayed. I don't know. And perhaps, I mean, also it might have been perhaps because we don't necessarily know all that much about the Joan Collins character. So perhaps that's why we perhaps find her a lot more interesting, perhaps because we don't quite know anything about her. I had sort of heard the film was a bit sort of over the top. But I don't think it was too bad. I mean, the Greta Garbo character is sort of a bit over the top. But that's sort of part of her character, though. She's like a prima ballerina, sort of very, you know, so that she does sort of act up a bit, you know, during the film. Well, actually quite a lot. But yeah, I mean, I liked her, and also like Joan Collins, and really good acting from, I think, from all the people. Really, yeah, great actors and great sort of characters to it. They're definitely sort of a film that sort of the characters sort of evolve, has to sort of change over the course of the film. As I said before, I really did enjoy it, you know, pretty much from, you know, start to finish. Yeah, definitely. I think both films are actually probably worth. I'm pretty sure I said before, I got them from Amazon. They were only probably, I want to say they were probably about $10 each, but I think they might have been a little bit more than that. I bought them a few weeks ago, so the price might have changed slightly. But definitely, yeah, two great films. Definitely recommend you check them out. So that's just sort of two quick sort of movie reviews, just some different sort of films perhaps that I've watched, perhaps to what I normally sort of show on my channel. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Tell me how awesome my video is. Just kidding. So yeah, till next time, I'll see you later, and thanks for watching. Bye.